The way invasion fleet tore through the Giron orbital defenses as if they were made of paper. Xiria would fall within the week, and the war seemed lost. Desperate, they called in the humans. The Galactic Council watched the massacre unfold on their holographic screens. Panic gripped the chamber as the Giron representative, his face pale, reported that over a third of his planet was already under WI control. If Xiria falls, the WI will have access to enough resources to conquer the entire galaxy, the Andorian counselor stated grimly. Our combined forces cannot stop them. What about the humans? Suggested the Arcturian representative. They're the only ones who haven't gotten involved yet. I've heard stories about their capabilities. A murmur of apprehension filled the room. The humans were an enigma, a young, unpredictable species known for their aggression and resourcefulness. Contacting them was a gamble, but they were out of options. Summon their best mercenary, Ethan Harrison, the council leader decided. Offer him whatever it takes. The fate of the galaxy depends on it. Hours later, Ethan stood before the council, his muscular frame dwarfing the aliens. The scars on his face and the cold, calculating look in his eyes spoke to a lifetime of warfare. You want me and my team to stop an invasion that your combined armies can't handle? He asked bluntly after listening to their plea. This won't be cheap. Name your price, the council leader said without hesitation. If you succeed, the reward will be astronomical. But if you fail, the WI will enslave us all. The galaxy's only hope rests with you and your humans, Mr. Harrison. A slow grin spread across Ethan's face. Then let's get to work. Those way bastards won't know what hit them. As he strode out of the chamber, the council members exchanged uneasy glances. They had just bet the galaxy's future on the deadliest, most unpredictable species known to the stars. May the gods help them all. Ethan's first call was to Jack Ripper Hayes, his right-hand man. The grizzled 38-year-old former Army Ranger picked up on the first ring. Rip, it's Ethan. I need you for a job. The fate of the galaxy is at stake. When isn't it? Jack chuckled. I'm in. Who else is on the team? I'm thinking Doc Reeves for medical, Ghost for recon and sniping, Tech for hacking and cyber warfare, and Hammer for demo and heavy weapons. Solid choices. When do we start? Yesterday. I'll send you the rendezvous coordinates. With the team assembled, Ethan met with a representative of the Galactic Council to discuss gear. The rep, an Arcturian named Xylo, led them into an armory filled with advanced alien tech. Plasma rifles, standard issue for Council Spec Ops, Xylo said, handing out sleek black weapons. More stopping power than your ballistic firearms. We've also got personal cloaking devices and a state-of-the-art stealth ship for covert insertion. What about the ship's computer? Ethan asked. Cutting-edge AI called Ares. It'll assist with navigation, comms, intel analysis, you name it. As the team geared up and boarded the stealth ship, Ares' smooth voice came over the intercom. Welcome aboard, gentlemen. I've plotted a course for Xiria. ETA, 6 hours.
En route, a reçu dans l'ISPOC-up.
Captain, I've intercepted a high-priority WI transmission. Decrypting now. It appears their supreme commander, Thaz, himself is personally leading the invasion. Ethan leaned forward. Thaz, huh? Taking him out could disrupt their chain of command. Maybe buy Xiria some time to regroup. He pulled up a hologram of a WI dreadnought. Here's the plan. We'll infiltrate Thaz's command ship and take him out. Ripper, Doc, you're with me. The rest of you will use the cloaking tech to sabotage their planetary defense cannons and comms arrays. We cut off the head of the snake and sow chaos in the ranks all at once. It won't be easy, but it's our best shot. The ship dropped out of warp at the edge of the Giron system. Through the viewport, they could see the burning hulks of destroyed ships and defense platforms. The wave fleet hung in orbit like a swarm of hungry locusts. Ethan gripped his plasma rifle tightly. This was it, the calm before the storm. In a few hours, they'd either be victorious or dead. But either way, the WI would learn what it meant to face the fury of humanity. The stealth ship glided through space, weaving past the ruined hulks of Giron ships with ease, its advanced cloaking tech rendering it invisible to the WI dreadnought sensors. Ethan gathered the team in the cargo bay, the low hum of the engines filling the air. All right, Listen up, he barked, his voice cutting through the tension. We're splitting into 2 teams. Ripper, Ghost, you're with me. We're heading straight for the bridge to take out those Doc, Tech, Hammer. Your job is to disable their weapons and comms. We take this ship, we cripple their whole damn fleet. Nods all around. They check their gear one last time. Plasma rifles charged and cloaking devices activated. The ship shuddered as it docked with the WY vessel, the airlock hissing open. Ethan's team moved swiftly through the corridors, their footsteps muffled by the ship's ambient noise. As they neared the bridge, a squad of those elite guard rounded the corner. Plasma bolts filled the air as the 2 groups opened fire. Jack lunged forward, his rifle forgotten as he engaged the WY in brutal hand-to-hand combat. He dodged a swipe from a guard's shock baton and retaliated with a devastating blow to the alien's throat, crushing its windpipe. Oliver, perched in a recessed alcove, picked off the guards one by one with precise shots from his sniper rifle. Each plasma bolt found its mark, dropping the WI where they stood. In the bowels of the ship, Doc, Ryan, and Michael fought their way through the engine room. Doc laid down, covering fire as Ryan hacked into a console, his fingers flying over the alien controls. "I'm in," he shouted over the din of battle. Weapons and comms going offline in 3, 2, 1. The ship shuddered as its systems shut down, the lights flickering overhead. Confused way chatter filled the comms as their fleet fell into disarray. Ethan and his team breached the bridge, plasma rifles at the ready. Das stood at the center of the room, his 4 eyes widening in surprise. "Humans," he growled, his voice like gravel. Known for his ferocity, Das lunged at Ethan, razor-sharp claws extended. Ethan met him head-on, blocking the blow and retaliating with a vicious uppercut. The 2 traded blows in a brutal melee, Ethan's human strength and speed pitted against Das' alien ferocity. Jack and Oliver quickly dispatched the remaining guards, leaving their lifeless bodies scattered across the floor. The bridge descended into an eerie silence, broken only by the sounds of Ethan and Das' struggle. Ethan saw an opening and took it, slamming his fist into Das' jaw. The warlord stumbled back, dazed. Ethan pressed his advantage, unleashing a flurry of blows that drove Das to his knees. With a final brutal strike, Ethan caved in the alien's skull. Das slumped to the floor, his reign of terror ended at last. Breathing heavily, Ethan stood over the corpse. Jack clapped him on the shoulder, a grim smile on his face. "We did it, Cap. The Way are in full retreat. Ziria is safe." But even as they savored their victory, Ethan knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was a dangerous place, and there would always be another threat lurking in the shadows. As long as humanity stood ready to face those threats head-on, however, there was still hope. As news of Tha's demise spread through the WY ranks, confusion and fear gripped the invading forces. Many began to retreat from their positions, desperate to escape the wrath of the humans who had slain their leader. But Ethan knew better than to let his guard down. "Ares, monitor all WI comms," he ordered as they raced back to the stealth ship. "I want to know what they're planning." Minutes later, Ares' voice filled the cockpit. "Captain, I've intercepted transmissions from Zorak, Tha's second-in-command. He's rallying the remaining troops for a final assault on the Giron capital." Ethan's grip tightened on the controls. "Like hell he is. Plot a course, double time. We need to get planetside and shore up those defenses." The ship screamed through the atmosphere, its hull glowing from the friction. As they touched down near the capital, General Zoran of the Giron military strode out to meet them, his face grim. "The Way are coming," he said without preamble. "We have at most a few hours before they reach the city." Ethan nodded, already formulating a plan. "My team will help fortify key positions and set up ambushes. Hammer, I need you rigging buildings along the main avenues to collapse on my signal. That should funnel them into kill zones." Michael grinned, hefting his demo kit. "You got it, Cap. I'll make them regret ever setting foot in this city." As Michael set to work, Ethan turned to the rest of the team. "Doc, set up a triage center in the central plaza. We're going to have casualties. Ghost, Ripper, each of you take a squad of Zoran's best and hit the WY flanks when they arrive. Tech, jam their comms and keep ours open. Understood? A chorus of affirmatives followed, and they moved as a well-oiled machine, honed by countless battles. The next few hours passed in a blur of preparation and fortification. Barricades were erected, snipers positioned, and traps laid. The city became a labyrinth of death, every street and alley a potential killing field. Then the WY arrived, a seething mass of fangs, claws, and plasma rifles. They surged into the city like a tidal wave, crashing against the Giron defenses. The air filled with the screams of the dying and the stench of burning flesh. In the thick of it all, Ethan and his team fought like demons. Jack and Oliver led their squads in surgical strikes, appearing from the shadows to sow chaos and destruction before melting away again. Doc worked frantically to stabilize the wounded, his hands slick with blood. Ryan's fingers flew over his control pad, jamming WY frequencies and feeding crucial intel to the defenders. And Michael, in his element, detonated his carefully placed charges with a savage grin, sending buildings toppling down onto the WY advance. Rubble and corpses choked the streets. Slowly, inch by bloody inch, the tide began to turn. The way advance faltered, then stalled, then broke. They fell back, seeking to regroup, but Ethan wasn't about to give them the chance. Zoran, keep the pressure on, he barked into his calm. Don't let up for a second. I'm going after Zorak. Ethan leapt into a Giron fighter, its alien controls intuitive beneath his hands. The craft roared into the sky, engines screaming as he pushed it to its limits. There, Zorak's command ship, hanging back from the fight like the coward he was. Ethan armed his weapons and dove, plasma cannon spitting fire. Zorak was no fool. His ship peeled away, trying to escape. But Ethan was relentless. They danced a deadly waltz through the clouds, plasma and flak filling the air. Alarms blared in Ethan's cockpit as his shields took hit after hit, but he didn't let up. With a final desperate maneuver, Ethan got behind Zorak's ship. His thumb stabbed down on the trigger, and a lance of plasma punched through the enemy craft's engines. It spiraled out of control, trailing smoke and flame as it plummeted towards the ground. Ethan followed it down, watching with grim satisfaction as it crash-landed on the outskirts of the city. He set his own fighter down nearby and leapt out, plasma rifle in hand. The wreckage was a twisted mass of metal, sparks, and ruptured power conduits. Ethan picked his way through the debris, eyes scanning for any sign of movement. There, a hatch torn open by the force of the impact. Crawling out of it, bloodied but alive, was Zorak himself. The alien commander stumbled to his feet, one hand clutching a wicked-looking plasma blade. "You think you've won, human," he snarled, his voice thick with pain and hatred. "You've only delayed the inevitable. The way will crush you and every other pathetic race in this galaxy." In the heart of the galaxy, Ethan raised his rifle, aiming it squarely at Zorgan's head. "Not today. They won't," he muttered, squeezing the trigger. Zorgan's head exploded in a shower of gore, the WI commander's body crumpling to the ground, his plasma blade clattering uselessly beside him. Ethan turned, gazing back towards the distant city. In the distance, he could see the Giron forces rallying, inspired by the humans' bravery. They surged forward, driving the remaining WI troops back with renewed ferocity. The battle was won, but Ethan knew the war was far from over. The way would be back, and there would always be another threat lurking in the stars. But as long as humanity stood ready to face those threats head-on, as long as men and women like his team were willing to fight and die for what was right, there was still hope. The cheers of the Zephyrian crowds filled the air as Ethan and his team stood on a hastily erected stage in the center of the capital. General Zoran stepped forward, his chest puffed out with pride. "On behalf of all Zephyrin, I thank you, brave humans, for your sacrifice and valor. You have saved our world and dealt a crushing blow to the WI menace. We are forever in your debt." Ethan nodded, exhaustion etched into his face. The team had fought hard, and the cost had been high, but for now, at least, they could savor their victory. The celebration was short-lived. Alarms blared across the city as Ares' voice crackled over their comms. "Captain, multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace. It's a massive WI fleet, larger than anything we've seen before. Steven's heart sank as a hologram of a WY commander appeared in the sky above them, the alien's features twisted with rage and grief. "I am Admiral Zorgan, brother of those whom you murdered. You think you have won, but you have only sealed your doom. Now you will feel the full wrath of the WY Empire." The sky lit up as the WY ships opened fire, raining down plasma and destruction on the city below. Buildings crumbled, and fires raged as the bombardment intensified. "We need to evacuate the civilians," Steven shouted over the chaos. "Get as many people to safety as you can." The team sprang into action, herding terrified Zephyrins towards underground shelters and transport ships. Ethan set up a triage center in a half-collapsed building, desperately trying to treat the wounded. As Steven helped a group of children towards a waiting shuttle, he heard a cry for help. A young Zephyrin girl was trapped under a pile of rubble, her leg crushed and bleeding. Ethan rushed over, his face set with determination. "I'll get her out. Cover me." Steven and the others laid down suppressing fire as Ethan dug through the debris. He managed to free the girl, cradling her in his arms as he ran back towards the shuttle. Suddenly, a plasma bolt struck the building above them, and tons of metal and concrete rained down directly in their path. Ethan shoved the girl into Steven's arms and turned to face the falling debris. "Get her to safety. Go now." Steven's cry was cut off as Ethan disappeared beneath the avalanche of rubble, his body shielding the child from harm. Steven stood frozen, the girl sobbing in his arms. Ethan, the man who had patched them up and kept them alive through countless battles, was gone. Tears streamed down Steven's face as he carried the child to the shuttle. The city was crumbling, the WY bombardment relentless. Steven made the call he dreaded most. "All teams, fall back to the extraction point. We're pulling out." They fought their way through the streets, plasma and debris filling the air. As they neared the stealth ship, a bolt caught Ryan in the chest. He fell, his suit systems trying desperately to seal the breach. Jack and Oliver hauled him aboard as Steven laid down covering fire. The ship lifted off, weaving through the chaos as the city burned beneath them. In the medical bay, Ryan floated in a bacta-tank, his body broken and barely clinging to life. The rest of the team sat in silence, numb with shock and grief. They set course for Earth, dreading the news. They had driven back the WY, but at what cost? Ethan was dead, Ryan critically wounded, and the galaxy would never be the same. As they entered Earth's orbit, a message from the Galactic Council came through. Steven read it, his face growing darker with each word. They made a deal with Zorgan. The way will cease hostilities, but at a price. We're to be exiled, cut off from the rest of the galaxy. Earth is on its own. The team sat in stunned silence. They had given everything, sacrificed so much, and now they were to be abandoned. The ship touched down at a secret,